Hey, Skogan. I was down by the water and I saw this windsock near the ferry boats. What do you think it's for? I also saw this. What do you think this measures? Can you tell if it was windy or not on this day? Since we're talking about wind and air and things that fly, I'm going to read two stories today about flying machines. The first one is called Aircraft, and it was written by Mary Elizabeth Salzman. All about aircraft. There are many kinds of aircraft. Do you know what these aircrafts are called? Let's find out. Hot air balloons come in different colors. They can be fun shapes, too. We made hot air balloons last week with Anya. I love all the different patterns on them. Gliders don't have engines. The wind holds them up. The first airplane flew in 1903. It was a biplane. Biplanes have two sets of wings. So the first airplane flew over 100 years ago. See the two wings? There's a teeny propeller in the front. You remember any animals that have two sets of wings? The Air Force has fighter jets. They fly faster than sound. That's really fast. Large airplanes carry hundreds of people. Ashley flies from Texas to New York. What does it feel like when you're in an airplane? Do you notice anything different? Sometimes you feel something strange happening to your ears. Some airplanes can land on water. Look, it's landing in the water. It's like a plane that has boat feet or ski feet. Helicopters don't have wings. They have rotors. They take off straight up. So this doesn't have wings like an airplane. Rockets go into space. The first one was launched in 1942. We talked a little bit about rockets when we were talking about fire. See all the fire coming out of the bottom of the rocket? Think about it. Which kind of aircraft would you like to ride in? Where would you go? Would you like to ride in a fighter jet, or a hot air balloon, or a rocket, or a biplane, or a glider? Maybe more than one. So Aircraft, that story was a non-fiction story, a true story with facts. This next story is a fiction story, one that's not real. It's about a pig who really wants to fly. Can pigs fly on their own? I wonder if this pig will be able to build something that lets it fly. Sky Pig by Jan L. Coates and illustrated by Suzanne Del Rizzo. The illustrations in this book are really cool. They look like they're made of clay. One blustery day, Ollie stood on his tippy toes, waving his trotters at the sky. He smiled up at the birds and bugs, airplanes, dandelion fluff, and leaves. "Really?" asked Jack. Ollie nodded. Together, Ollie and Jack began collecting leafy branches. Ollie tried not to wiggle as his friend fastened them onto his back. Ollie looked up, way up, at the leaves swirling above the windy hill. "Let's go," Jack said. Together they climbed and climbed to the very top of the very high hill. "Run, Ollie, run!" Jack shouted. And Ollie did run, as fast as ever a pig could run. "I'm flying! I'm flying! I'm—" Woof! Plop! Oink! Oink! Whoa! Ollie, are you okay? Ollie shook his head, then hobbled home to his sandbox. The very next day he spotted two kites, dipping and swooping like dancers. Garden stakes, twine, and a feed sack. Ollie dropped them into Jack's lap, then pointed his snout at the kites. "Really?" Jack asked. Ollie nodded. Let me try again. He stood still while Jack hooked the kite string to his collar. Together they climbed and climbed to the very top of the very high hill. Jack tossed the kite up into the air. Then Ollie raced down the hill. A strong breeze caught the kite at once. "I'm flying! I'm flying! I'm—" Plump! Ooh! Oink! Oink! "Oh no! Are you okay, Ollie?" Ollie stopped rolling, then limped home to wallow in his mud hole. A gaggle of honking geese passed overhead. Ollie looked at Jack. Then he looked from the chicken coop to the duck pond to the bird feeders. "Really?" Jack said. Ollie nodded. Jack sighed. Ollie's ears twitched as Jack fastened the tickly wings to his back. "Just like an eagle," Jack said, flapping his arms. "Are you ready? Do you think this time it's going to work?" Ollie trotted over to the wagon. The two friends climbed and climbed to the very top of the very high hill. Jack ran, pulling the wagon behind him. Ollie closed his eyes as the wind ruffled his wings. Suddenly, the rumbling of the wagon beneath him disappeared. "I'm flying! I'm flying! I'm—" Boof! Plop! Oink! Oink! "Whoa! Are you okay, Ollie?" Ollie groaned as Jack helped him into the wagon and took him home for a warm bubble bath. Ollie continued sky gazing, as sadly as ever a deeply disappointed pig could gaze. Belly rubs, apples, mud frolics, nothing could make him smile. One lazy morning, raindrops splattered against the windows. But what was that? Ollie peered out at an umbrella, somersaulting, then soaring out of sight. He found the umbrella in a cornfield and carried it back to the barn. What's he going to do with the umbrella? "Really? Like Mary Poppins?" said Jack. "You'll need more than one." Ollie wagged his tail and bounced along the path up to the very top of the very high hill. Jack dragged behind. When they got to the top, the umbrellas flapped and fluttered. Ollie took off, rolling downhill as fast as ever a pig could roll. "I'm flying! I'm flying! I'm—" What do you think? Is it going to work? Oof! Plop! Oink! Oink! "Oh no! Are you okay, Ollie?" Jack folded up the umbrellas and helped his friend wobble home. "I'm sorry, Ollie," he said. At bedtime, Ollie shuffled outside and stood perfectly still, staring up at a million twinkling stars. This is a cool treehouse. The next day, Ollie plumped down in the sunshine and sighed. A giant shadow made him look up, way up. He smiled. Then he climbed and climbed to the very top of the very high hill. What do you think's making this big shadow? Ollie didn't hesitate. He scrambled up into the basket, then he stood on his tippy toes, peeking out over the side. "You're flying!" Jack yelled. "You're flying! Ollie, you are flying!" And Ollie looked down at his friend and grinned, as much as ever a flying pig could grin. So he found a way to fly after all. So we read one story about the different kinds of aircrafts and one story about a character who tries to make their own. The end.